Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. I'm new on this, so I'm just trying to work out the chat, display messages. All right, so we'll chant Jai Radha briefly. My name is Atmananda Das, by the way. And because I can't hear your response, then I'll do it myself. Keep it brief though. And we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 7th chapter. We're actually starting with text 23 because although there's no purport, I always read the verses, and then we'll go on to 24. So if you're prepared, no problem. And please, I'm very interested in your thoughts, comments, realizations, questions, anytime during the class, during the discussion. Please post anything, and whether I answered immediately or not, unless there's too many, we'll get into them always by the end. I very much encourage all thoughts, questions, realizations, doubts, anything. Hare Krishna. Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai 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 Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. I'm listening to you now. Without listening. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo, Jayo Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Radha Giridhari, Radha Giridhari, Radha Giridhari, Radha Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Guru Parampara Ki Jai, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopalabhina Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yogi Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Transcendental Prasad Distribution Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 7th Chapter, text number 23. I'll say the I'll say the Bhagavatam, the lines myself, and then whoever's got the Bhagavatam in front of them, which I assume you do, you can say the same line yourself, and I'll say it almost silently so the lag in time won't disturb you. And we'll just do normally, then we'll do that briefly, and then we'll go through the synonyms and the translation and the next verse. Today, another verse, text 24. Tat tejasa hatarucha sana jiva sasadvasa murnad dritanjali puta upatastur adhokshajam. Normally we do this several more times and people can repeat, but we don't have that facility for me to hear you yet. We'll go on to the synonyms. I'll repeat the Sanskrit, you repeat the Sanskrit. I'll say the English, you repeat the English. Tat tejasa, by the glaring effulgence of his body. Hata rucha, having faded lusters. Sana jiva, having silent tongues. Sasadvasa, having fear. Murdna, with the head. Drita Anjali Puta, with hands touched to the head. upatastu prayed. Adhokshajam, to Adhokshaja, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and no purport by His Divine Grace of Prabhupada. In the presence of the glaring effulgence of the bodily luster of Narayan, everyone else's luster faded away, and everyone stopped speaking. Fearful with awe and veneration, all present touched their hands to their heads and prepared to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adhokshaja. So we're not going to repeat this time. The name of the chapter is what? Who knows the name of the chapter? The sacrifice performed by Daksha, right? Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 7, verse number 23. I'm going to go on to 24 now. Now, as I said before, I'm very eager to have interaction with you as much as you want, even more. If you have any question, any thought, any realization, any doubt, question at all while I'm speaking, please put it up and I'll either answer it right away or I will answer it later. I like to, I encourage everyone to, because it's very enlivening. In the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says very clearly about detachment. We all want to be detached. We're detached from so many things. We all have our poison, so to speak. So consider what attachment you have that are strong, and you probably know very well what they are. And to advance in Krishna consciousness, we must become completely detached from material things. Not that there's no affection or attraction for family, whatever, but becoming detached from matter is part of the Krishna conscious process. Prabhupada says, becoming attached to Krishna. No, becoming detached from Maya means becoming attached to Krishna. It only works that way. He also said specifically there in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the purport to text 3 and 4, he says that detachment comes from what? So how to become detached? We want to become detached. How do you do that? We accept it in principle, but how do you do it? You force yourself to just grit your teeth? No, because that won't. That's not the higher taste. That's trying to force ourselves to do something that we're not quite ready to do. Maybe he says, detachment comes from discussing Krishna consciousness with devotees. That really struck me. That's at least part of the formula. You become detached by discussing Krishna consciousness based on hearing from proper authority with other devotees. That discussion, and that's why I like to have interactive exchange during class. So I'm looking for a way. I'll discuss with Arjun and others who are technically more astute than I am, how to have, at least so I can see you. Otherwise, it seems quite impersonal. All right, text 24. Here we go. We'll do the same thing as we just did with 23. Apyarvagritayo yasya mahitvatma uvadaya yatamati grinanti sma Kritanugraha Vigraham Kritanugraha Vigraham Api still Arvakritaya beyond the mental activities Yasya whose Mahi glory to but Atmabuadaya Brahma etc. Yatamati according to their different capacities. Grinanti Sma offered prayers. Krita Anugraha manifested by his grace. Vigraham transcendental form. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful prayers according to their different capacities. Let's do this responsively. And during the discussion or class, I will ask you questions. So that'll give you another chance to enter something on the chat. And at the time, we can't speak it directly yet. But I'll see that. I may respond right then or later. Please repeat after me. Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful prayers according to their different capacities. I'll go to the purport. I'm just going to adjust the screen. See where we're at. One second, please. Okay. I'd like to be able to add a chat, but I can't see how to do that. And let's continue. Okay, you can also do with a private chat, either way. And purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always unlimited, and His glories cannot be completely enumerated by anyone, even by a personality like Lord Brahma. It is said that Ananta, that's Ananta Shesh, a direct incarnation of the Lord, has unlimited mouths, and with each mouth he has been trying to describe the glories of the Lord for an unlimited span of time. An unlimited span of time. Yet the glories of the Lord remain unlimited, and he therefore never finishes. It is not possible for any ordinary living entity to understand how to glorify the unlimited personality of Godhead. I'll repeat that. It is not possible for any ordinary living entity to understand or to glorify the unlimited personality of Godhead. But one can offer prayers or service to the Lord according to one's particular capacity. So we can't and we can. This capacity is increased by the service spirit. This capacity is increased by the service spirit. Sevanmukhe jivado means that the service of the Lord begins with the tongue, jiva. This refers to chanting. By chanting Hare Krishna, one begins the service of the Lord. Another function of the tongue is to taste and accept the Lord's prasad. We have to begin our service to the unlimited with the tongue, not with the mind, not with the intelligence, with the tongue, and become perfect in chanting, and accepting the Lord's prasadam. To accept the Lord's prasad means to control the entire set of senses. To accept the prasad of the Lord. To accept the Lord's prasad means to control the entire set of senses. The tongue is considered, fading away. The tongue is considered to be the most uncontrollable sense, hankers for so many unwholesome eatables, thereby forcing the living entity into the dungeon of material conditional life. As the living entity transmigrates, from one form of life to another, he has to eat so many abominable foodstuffs that finally there is no limit. The tongue should be engaged in chanting and in eating the Lord's prasad so that the other senses will be controlled. Chanting is the medicine and prasad is the diet. With these processes, one can begin his service. And as the service increases, the Lord reveals more and more to the devotee. As the service increases, the Lord reveals more and more to the devotee. But there is no limit to his glories, and there is no limit to engaging oneself in the service of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Om Gyantimrandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavari Paschatya Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kam Kroti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yatripatamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, a lame man can cross over mountains, and a dumb man can compose eloquent poetry. So, many points here. Many points. And, go back to the Apyar Vagritayo Yasya Mahitvatma Bhuvadaya Yatamati Grinanti Sma Kritanugraha Vigraham. Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful prayers according to their different capacities. Hare Krishna. So even the greatest personalities in this world, I mean, Brahma, how intelligent is he? Huh, can't even imagine. He's so intelligent, empowered by Krishna, of course, that he creates all the forms, directly or indirectly, in the universe. He's a heck of a lot smarter than the mundane scientists, those who accept Darwinian evolution, even to the slightest extent. And they're creating so many apparently wonderful things. Fancy cars, airplanes that fly themselves, sending things into outer space. And so intelligent they can fool us that they went to the moon. Either we're really stupid or they're really intelligent, or both. Either way. And some people think that now we're being manipulated by mandates which are not laws in the present situation. Very intelligent. I mean, Ravana, a demon, super intelligent. Hiranyakashipu, he was so intelligent, he was preaching Bhagavad Gita to his relatives after Krishna killed his brother, Hiranyaksha. Really. But if you have lots of zeros, there you can have 1,000 zeros, and they come to nothing. So all these apparently valuable, useful, high-level qualities, intelligence, power, control, influence, wealth, all the opulences of Krishna. They can have all those things, but unless they have Krishna, the one in the front, they're all zeros. Now, we may be very impressed, we may be attracted, we may be whatever, naturally. At the same time, unless we engage in glorifying the Supreme Lord, specifically, I should say, unless we engage in devotional service of the Lord, and specifically Prabhupada is quoting the verse here, the verse and the purport are stressing the glorification as the beginning of our service, chanting Hare Krishna. So all these may be hugely, inconceivably for us, intelligent people like Brahma, they're unable to comprehend the glories of the Lord. They were still able to see him. Now, that's, so by the grace of the Lord. So that grace is what we want. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful. They could see him, and they could offer their prayers, their glorification, only because of Krishna's grace. So we can't even talk without his grace. Even the demons, the materialists, they can't talk without Krishna. So they're getting the grace in that form, but they don't get, so whatever they have as zeros without the one in front, without devotional service, they lose. They lose it all. So it's like building castles in the sand. Beautiful castle. One wave comes in and that's it. Sayonara. So Prabhupada says in the purport that the Supreme Lord is always unlimited. And we say, oh, okay, so what? I may be exaggerating, but we hear it so often. It's just like, yeah, so what? Like water off the duck's back. But what does that mean? Krishna and his glories are always unlimited. Even a perfect, in fact, an incarnation. Ananta says he's the direct incarnation of Krishna, and he cannot come to the end. So how would it be if you felt so happy? I mean, what was Brahma? He was glorifying the Lord like anything. All the demigods were. There was no end to. They could do it because of Krishna's mercy, Krishna's arrangement, by his grace. Otherwise, they couldn't do it. And because even some impersonalists who, if they're envious of Krishna, they're considered the greatest offenders. Some of them chant Hare Krishna. So, if the holy name is perfect and pure, transcendental, isn't that good? Ultimately depends on their mood, their capacity. At the same time, Prabhupada also says, milk touched by the lips of a serpent has what? You know. If there's anyone there, poisonous effects. Poisonous. So even someone chanting Hare Krishna, all at the same time, even an impersonalist can become a devotee. How? A dyed-in-the-wool impersonalist can become a devotee. How? By the association of a pure devotee. We saw with Prakasananda Saraswati, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, some of the greatest dyed-in-the-wool impersonalists, they became devotees by the association of Lord Chaitanya. In this case, the Prabhupada says, by the association of a pure devotee, a dyed-in-the-wool impersonalist, Mayavadi, can become a devotee. So there's hope for everyone. Of course, everyone has their choice. So, is Lord Brahma happy when he's chanting, when he's glorifying? Or is he just doing it begrudgingly? Better chant, Krishna's here. No. Prabhupada doesn't mention this, but absolutely. All the devotees, they're happy to, even though, as it says in the previous verse, there was some fear there. Fearful. Well, they stopped. They in the presence of the glaring effulgence of the bodily luster of Narayan, everyone else's luster faded away, and everyone stopped speaking. Fearful, with awe and veneration. Okay, well, that's not a very high stage, but most of us are probably still. We have awe and veneration, which is okay. At the same time, we know very well from Dhammadarastika prayers that Krishna is only attracted by the love of the devotees that is imbued with affection, free from any concept of awe and reverence. So if we're not there yet, fine. We don't try to artificially jump to some Raganuga platform, prema bhakti, unless and until we've dealt with all our anartas. Anarta nivriti is what, the fourth step in the 9 processes? We want to become steady, but steadiness comes after nishta, comes after anarta nivriti. After we clean our hearts, we take responsibility for identifying our anartas identifying our anarthas and cleaning them out. Anartha means cleansing the heart of the unwanted things. We do that with Krishna's help. Krishna's waiting for us to get on with that most essential activity, cleansing the anarthas from our heart. And he helps us. That's explained in the Gunita Marjana section of this Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think it's chapter 12, either 11 or 12 of Madhya Lila. And okay, so there's some fear there. That's all right. So Prabhupada doesn't talk about it here, but why are these devotees glorifying the Lord? Out of respect and awe and reverence, and they're happy doing it. So we can ask ourselves, am I happy chanting my rounds? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Some days I am, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes Krishna gives me a taste and he frees me, makes me feel liberated and dynamic and powerful. Other days he says, all right, what about that anartha in that corner of your heart that you haven't cleansed out yet? The envy, the resentment, the lethargy, the complacency. So then Prabhupada goes on to say that it is not possible for any ordinary living entity to understand, now my battery is getting low, so I'm going to have to take a slight intermission and get that plugged in. Everyone, if you haven't done it already, stand up, stretch around, get some water. Don't go far, because we're almost there. That's better over there. So if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, realizations so far, then put them in the chat. We'll go from there. We can have a little bit of exchange. Okay. Now let's see, it's 8:15, and so it's 45 minutes already. So I want to keep it as much as possible to an hour. Prabhupada made his classes very short, almost always under an hour. And no, wrong way. So I want to keep it to an hour. If there's lots of discussion, chat back and forth, that's fine. I just want to, as I was reading this chapter in preparation for the class, I was struck by something. The power of the mercy of the pure devotee. So, Daksha, I don't know exactly how long it was before how long after his head was chopped off. And he performed the yajna, which he's in the process of doing now. Actually, he's just finished it. And it says that as soon as he offered that sacrifice, the ritual ceremony, with devotion, Immediately, the Lord appeared to him in his 8-armed form, which you've been reading. 8 arms with four weapons for devotee benedicting objects. And so how is it possible that someone who, as Prabhupada describes in one of the previous purports, for his offenses against the pure devotee Lord Shiva, deserved to be dumped into hellish condition perpetually? Prabhupada uses words like that. I don't know, remember exactly the words. He was his pretty much automatic consequence for offending a pure devotee was to be dropped into the cesspool of hellish life perpetually, always. But because Prabhupada describes quite extensively how Lord Shiva, although he was so terribly insulted, terribly, he didn't react to that. He was undisturbed. And he could have let the natural course of punishment, terrible, perpetual punishment, to be given to Daksha. But he cursed him. Lord Shiva. But why did he curse him? Because he wanted to correct him. He didn't want him to suffer. He wanted him to wake up and reestablish himself in his eternal constitutional position with Krishna, devotional service. It was because of that. Krishna doesn't tolerate offenses against his devotees. He takes them more seriously and painfully. He suffers more when his devotees are insulted or attacked, even neglected. Prabhupada is, we don't even neglect devotees. What to speak of insult them or blaspheme them or criticize them negatively. We don't even neglect them. What to speak of what happened in the Daksha Yajna? All the terrible insults and the violence perpetuated even by Lord Shiva's his own followers. So the power of the pure devotee, it can counteract anything, even Krishna. Now, it doesn't mean it's more powerful than Krishna, but Krishna, in one sense, it is, because Krishna is controlled by his devotees, by the love of his devotees. Look at Lord Nityananda. Lord Chaitanya was going to kill Jagannath. He had said he wasn't going to do that, and that he was not going to tolerate the offense of Jagannath, offenses of Jagannath against Nitai. He was going to kill them. They were already dead. But what did Lord Nityananda do? Lord Nityananda, he fell at his feet and said, "No, my Lord, please, I'll tolerate it. I'm asking you not to kill them. I want you to save them." It's very hard to understand the depth of that compassion. It doesn't matter what they've done to me. That I actually, and a pure devotee isn't affected by that. It's hardly imaginable. When someone insults me or does any little thing so-called against me, I get upset. My false ego roars up and I want to react. And this person, blah, blah, blah. And another point I mentioned, how quickly that happened. Normally, someone has to go through so much penance, austerity, to gain even material power, or to speak of the freedom from the most terrible karmic reaction. Worse than karmic reaction. Offending, insulting, belittling pure devotee, Lord Shiva. How quickly that happened. I don't know how long it was, as I said, between Daksha's head being cut off. Yes, they had to purify the whole sacrificial arena because of the terrible things that had been going on and all the disgusting, contaminated stool, urine, etc., that had been contaminated the Yagya site. So they had to do all that. How long it took, it's not mentioned in this version of Bhagavatam. But it couldn't have been more than a few days. I don't know how long they took, maybe a few days. But the chanting, the glorification and the potency of devotional service and the mercy of Krishna and his pure devotee is so effective. Time, it's beyond time. It can happen immediately. So if we are very, very eager, if we're greedy for Krishna and pure devotional service, Hare Krishna, Bhaktivatsala, welcome. Please enter any questions or points about anything we're reading or discussing, and I'll try to get back to it either immediately. You can mention on the chat, and I'll answer you right away or sometime towards the end. So we don't have to wait. We may have the worst karma, and you can't imagine that we would have karma anywhere near, or reaction anywhere near what Daksha had for what he did to insult, criticize, belittle, demean terribly, harshly Lord Shiva, the pure devotee. I don't think that any of us could have amassed that measure of reaction possible, but there's nothing worse than offending the pure devotee. Any devotee, but we'll speak of a pure devotee. So that the relief of that by the mercy of the pure devotee himself, or Krishna, but in this case, the pure devotee, Lord Shiva, didn't care about himself in terms of himself. He simply cared about Daksha's deliverance. Therefore, he cursed him, which was a benediction curse, so that he wouldn't have to immediately be dropped into the perpetual suffering, which is described in previous purport. Okay, Krishnendu Prabhu is saying, how should we respond when we see devotees are being offended and other devotees don't speak up or do anything to protect them? Very good question. Very good question. And normally I would make sure. So I'll reflect anyway and make sure I run. So if we see someone else being offended and we don't see anyone else saying anything about it, or do anything to stop it or protect them. What should we do? Well, Krishnendu, I expect you have an idea about that. You've probably discussed or thought about this before. I will say that because we know from Nectar Devotion that there are apparently there are extreme measures we should take. One is that we defeat them. One is that we cut out their tongue, and one is that we leave. Those are the three that I remember. That you can mention if there are more that you remember, or if those aren't exactly as you remember them. But so that's one thing. Now, my understanding is generally we don't, unless we should be able to defeat them. But usually, my experience is that unless I have a relationship with the, in this case we call the offender, then, in other words, I need to understand, consider whether what I say or do with the offender will make any difference. It's a big discussion, but I can say something, and I guess my question myself about this is, all right, so is it better that I say something whether the person who's offending will take it seriously or not? I've been in that situation, because for the benefit of those who are not offending, but just like there witnessing it, is it important for me to speak up? And I would say yes. Now it's challenging to do that, because then I'm at risk. There might be an argument, more insult, more offense created. Yeah. So maybe put in some more of your thoughts, Krishnendu, if you like, about that. So yeah. So as I was saying, the mercy of the pure devotee in this case to negate any reaction, any offense, even the greatest, insulting a pure devotee, the devotees who've dedicated their lives to propagating the glory of the holy name. That's the first offense. First offense. So, and that can be, Krishna can be influenced. Krishna can be controlled, so to speak, to such completely by the desire of the pure devotee. That's how close, that's how dear, the pure devotee is to Krishna. They're in my heart. Serving the pure devotee. The devotee is more important, Krishna says. In fact, if we think we can serve Krishna directly, then we're already lost. That's another discussion as well. All right, we're coming up to time, and now Krishnendu is added. Even if it doesn't make a difference, at least if we speak up, we cannot support the offense by omission. I like it. By not speaking up, it implies we agree. Okay. Thank you. Good point. So it sounds like you're saying, right, whatever risk it might be to me, in terms of getting insulted myself, potentially, or humiliated even, or removed, I should speak up. Sounds like that's like being assertive and detached and doing the best thing for the situation, whatever happens to me. Bhaktivatsala quotes, one should be more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. Yes. Yes. So if I'm actually humble, and more tolerant. It doesn't matter what happens to me. If I think, well, I'm quite an advanced, I'm a very senior devotee. I got initiated directly by Prabhupada. I've been chanting Hare Krishna for more than half a century. If they insult me, then maybe that'll be an offense as well. Yeah, so if I have that Trinadapi mentality about Bhaktivatsala, yes, then. And Krishnendu adds, speaking of is also mercy for the unspeaking devotees, because we warn them about the reactions they might get by complying. Yes. And my question is, well, do I have the strength and the humility to, because we're talking about philosophy and mainly in theory and what we should do. And I know for me it's a challenge. It's one of my anarthas. I'm not quite confident in doing that. But yes, thank you. All right. Anyone else have any points or questions? There's lots more, of course, in every purport of Srila Prabhupada. There's so much. But where are we? Yeah, the Lord's glories are unlimited, and one cannot even see Krishna, understand Krishna, or to speak of glorify him without the grace of the Lord. And then Prabhupada makes one more thing I'll mention. Prabhupada, it's interesting, he says, it is not possible for any ordinary living entity to understand or to glorify the unlimited personality of Godhead. But one can offer prayers or service to the Lord according to one's particular capacity. So it almost sounds like Prabhupada saying it's not possible, and then he says it's possible. But one can offer prayers or service to the Lord according to one's particular capacity. And then he expands on that. He says, this capacity is increased by the service spirit, the mood of service that, like Bhaktivatsala mentioned, Trinadapi. Just a moment. Hello? Nico? No, I heard someone knock. If we have that humble service, and the other is Sevan Makehi Jivado, that Takshi Krishna Namadi, that if one has complete faith in both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Spiritual Master, all the meaning, all the essences, all the truths of spiritual life are automatically revealed. So that mood of faith, complete faith and trust in Krishna, by chanting Hare Krishna and struggling to surrender, everything will be revealed. That's what is it? The 9th or 10th verse offense. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name. To not have complete faith. So that's one of the offenses. And we may be far from that, but at least we understand and accept that we want to come to that level, that I can surrender completely when I chant my rounds. And therefore it's most important. And if I allow anything else to be going on while I'm chanting, or allow myself to do other things, I'm practicing this, to not do anything else, or to speak of think anything else. Generally, when I chant my rounds, it's like an automatic switch. Okay, now it's a thinking time, and my mind goes all over the universes. So wherever the mind may wander, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it again and place it under the control or shelter of the self, capital S, self. Bhagavad Gita. And then Prabhupada goes on to talk about the tongue. and how the first thing of the tongue is not eating prasadam, it's glorifying. Okay? Chanting Hare Krishna. One begins the service of the Lord by chanting. And of course, one also continues it, and also it never ends. So where are we? More comments. Krishnendu says, thank you, very relevant topic. The mercy of the devotee is key to getting Krishna's mercy. Yes, that's Chaitanya Charitamrita. By the mercy of Krishna, one gets a spiritual master. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets Krishna. Ananda Bhamite Kam, Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. All right. Thank you all. And there's much, much more. If anyone has any more comments about anything, at least related to the verses or the discussion, please add it, or anything else if it's Krishna directly connected with your particular service or advancement. Otherwise, I'll wait a minute. I'm assuming, because I'm not familiar with this platform, I'm assuming that everyone can see the comments. More questions in the chat. And if anyone knows how we can use this restream or this format or giving class like this, can make it have it interactive, so not only I can see others like on Zoom. Krishna, you mentioned that might be a possibility. We can see each other and even hear each other if we unmute. It's much more personal and it's much more enlivening, I find. As I mentioned in the beginning, Prabhupada says if you want to become detached, the first thing you do is you discuss Krishna consciousness with devotees based on what you're hearing from authority. Prabhupada says in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text number 3 and 4 in the purport. I never noticed this before. The word asanga is very important in this connection because the attachment for sense and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures. And one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of discussion, Prabhupada in this case does not say hearing and chanting. He says discussion. I haven't checked the dictionary definition of discussion, but my understanding is it's back and forth. You can have a discussion with your mind, but that isn't recommended. I mean, yeah, if you can, as you make it your friend, okay, that's one thing, but generally you want to beat it with shoes. And as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, beat it with shoes in the morning and then sweep it with a broom at night. And let it lead your life as it has been for countless lifetimes. So, yeah. So, Prabhupada doesn't say hearing and chanting. He says discussion. Discussion means exchange between devotees. That's really why I want to have some interactive format to do that. For me, this is so limiting. I mean, it's great to have the opportunity to speak at all. And I want to make it interactive as well. So I'll repeat that. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures. So, practical, real thing you can do immediately. And if you're not discussing Krishna, devotional service, Prabhupada's books, hearing and sharing realizations with devotees, then you can arrange. What could be more valuable than not only enjoying discussing realizations based on Prabhupada's teachings, in his behavior, his example with other devotees, and simultaneously becoming detached. We enjoy it, and then that's automatically becoming attached because we're enjoying in Krishna consciousness. All right, we can go on with this forever. I don't see any more comments. Last chance. Thank you all very much. And this is going to be regular Wednesday mornings at 7:30. And in the meantime, I'll look to see if we can make this interactive. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.